Hello and welcome to Symbols and Cynicism, a podcast where we talk about all of the things that I love, some of the things that I hate, and this wacky adventure that we call life. My name is Bob, I'm your host, and I'm glad you're here today as we talk Clone Wars Season 2, have something neat with Matt, and falling in love. Let's get started. Welcome back to today's episode. Happy Valentine's Day later this week. Don't forget your loved one and do something nice for them. Flowers or a card, whatever. Maybe you don't need to buy something. My wife and I, we don't do a lot of purchasing of really anything for each other. I used to get her flowers all the time on Valentine's Day and her birthday, and she doesn't really care for flowers that much. I know it's like the cliche thing to do, but she doesn't care for it. The money and then the flowers just die quick. So I started years ago just sending nice, sweet texts all day long. This is especially great, when she's at work. If it's a Saturday like this year, not as interesting. Maybe I love you, things I love about you. I love your smile, the way you, whatever, right? Which reminds me of a very funny story. At least it's funny to me. So I had this friend. His name was Dan Meeks, and Dan died a few years ago. A lot of you, if you're a band director in Ohio, you know Dan Meeks, the man, the myth, the legend. He was a band director for a very long time. He retired. He became a music store rep for a lot of us. Dan was one of these guys that every time I saw Dan, we always hugged, we always laughed, we always had jokes. Just one of those funny, genuinely awesome people. So it's Valentine's Day, and I'm texting my wife all of these things all day. Very nice, very sweet thoughts. And the last one I had planned was right at the end of the day as I got home. She gets home later than me. Right as I got home, I texted her, "I love you. I can't wait to see your face and give you a kiss," or something of that nature. Well, I have this habit of sometimes accidentally texting the wrong person. Do you ever do this? Where like you're texting and you're like, boom, 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 I'm going to say this thing. And you hit send and then you realize, I didn't realize that I had sent this not to my wife. Until a few minutes later, when I got a message back, it popped up. Smoochy face, the one with the heart that like comes out of the thought, oh, she sent me a text back. And then I realized it was Dan Meeks that had texted me. I accidentally texted, "You look beautiful today. I can't wait to see your face and give you a warm kiss," to Dan Meeks. And so this day always makes me think of him, gone way too soon from this world. Dan, if you're up there, I love you. Can't wait to see you someday and give you a big smoochy kiss. Some download information. Holy cow. The last 4 weeks have been one of our best 4-week stretches. I can't tell you what that means to us that you listen every single week. So whether you've been with us from the beginning and faithful every week, or whether you joined late and you're trying to play catch up, doesn't matter. We love you. Thank you for listening. We hope you enjoyed today's episode and that you keep listening well into the future, because your downloads and your listening are what invigorate me to make the very next episode. We do have one question from a fan this week. It's a good one. When do we find out about the results of the Bourbon Bracket? I think we mentioned it a little in passing last week, but we haven't given a specific date. We will be doing pairings along the way, similar to what we did last week. We've got another one this week, but the results are scheduled for the March 16th episode. So you got little over a month to wait. That is the 10th episode of this season, where we usually on episode 10 do top 10s of various things. Instead of the top 10s, we'll be doing a bracket, which is sort of the March version of a top 10 if you want to look at it that way. Additional to the Bourbon Bracket, we also have a drum corps bracket that Harrison and I will be working through. We're working on it right now. We'll be revealing that next week, just kind of talking through it. No results yet until March 16th. We also have a baseball movie bracket, which is mentally very challenging right now. Today, in my world, it snowed 3 inches on my driveway. So it's tough to think about spring and March and baseball and spring training, but we're going to do it anyway and do a movie bracket for baseball movies. And that will also be revealed on March 16th. And also a rant bracket. We have taken the top 8 rants from the podcast, and we're going to go through that with Kathy. She's going to take us through and make the decisions, and then I will be redoing the winning rant at the end of that episode. So all of that is scheduled for March 16th. The brackets will be revealed prior to that episode so that you can play along if you want. Stay tuned for more information on all of that. Okay, on today's show, Clone Wars Season 2, Episodes 1, 2, and 3. Something neat with Matt and the Bourbon pairing 2 versus 7 matchup and falling in love. There is a lot to do, so let's get rolling. Okay, Star Wars, The Clone Wars, Season 2. We're doing episodes 1, 2, and 3 today. This is a 3-part story arc. Episode 1 is Holocron Heist. This is right at the beginning of Season 2. We open on Felucia, the planet of Felucia, which is mired in battle. Anakin and Obi-Wan fight on one front. Jedi Master Plo Koon flies in with the fighters, and he's in the sky battling. Ahsoka has her own set of clones. She's on a third front. Battle droids are everywhere. For Ahsoka, the battle is going well, not so much for the boys. Now, there's a reason behind that, because her droids are retreating. She thinks she's winning. The droids are retreating, however, in order to reform and reattack. Ultimately, the droids have the clones and Jedi way outnumbered. This battle really is just here so that we can see Ahsoka on her own, but then also disobey orders so that back on Coruscant, she can be disciplined into being the library guard duty for her disobedience. Obi-Wan tells her to retreat. Ahsoka says no, she thinks she's winning, but she can't see the bigger picture. So she's young, she's blossoming into a worthy leader and strong Jedi Force user, but she still has a lot of young tendencies. So she kind of ignores Obi-Wan, a tendency which she has learned from Anakin. And because of this disobedience, they get back to Coruscant, and she is disciplined into being the library guard for her disobedience. So Ahsoka reports to the archive security to meet Master Jocasta Nu. She is the human female Jedi Master. She is a Jedi Master who serves as the chief librarian of the Jedi Archives. She's also, get this, a former member of the Jedi Council. She left on her own. She stepped down from the Jedi Council to become the librarian. She will survive the Great Jedi Purge. We sometimes look at Jocasta Nu as librarian and we just think, oh, frail. You know, she has the bun, gray hair, the bun, soft-spoken. I mean, she looks like a pretty typical librarian. But she is a Jedi Master who served on the council, so she's got some skills. She's got it going on. She will survive the Jedi Purge, but then return to the archive shortly after in order to retrieve data on Jedi children. That'll come into play here in a little bit. Data on Jedi children. When she returns, Vader will find her at this point and then kill her then. She does manage to hide the information on the Force-sensitive children. Later, Luke Skywalker finds this information and uses it to attempt to rebuild the Jedi Order. Now, that's 20 years from now or so that takes place, right? Luke Skywalker does not attempt to rebuild the Jedi Order until well after Return of the Jedi. That's where we get Ben Solo and the events of the sequel trilogy. We're a long way from that right now. So Jocasta Nu plays factors in a lot of this. We see her throughout the Clone Wars a little bit, okay? She's around, but that's Jocasta Nu. The Jedi Archives, that's where she works. In the library, inside the library is the Jedi Archives. They contain the entire history of all galactic knowledge, including all of the history of the Jedi Order itself. After the Great Purge, this information was used by the Sith and the Inquisitors to gain insight that they would use in order to hunt down the remaining Jedi. We see some of this in the Obi-Wan Kenobi streaming series on Disney Plus. The Inquisitors also in Rebels, right? The Inquisitors play a part later. We'll talk about them in like 50 episodes or 100 episodes. Inside the archives is the Holocron Vault. The Holocron Vault is the center of the archives and contains the most closely guarded secrets. In fact, it's so closely guarded that only members of the Jedi Council may enter the vault, which is why, at this point, Master Nu says to Ahsoka, I haven't been inside for years myself. She is the chief archivist librarian. She's not allowed in because only Jedi Council members can enter, and as a former council member, she is not permitted to enter. Smash cut to Cad Bane. We've talked about Cad Bane. He's the man. We talked about him a couple episodes ago. He has been hired by Sidious to steal a holocron. What is a holocron? Well, holocrons are artifacts used to store information and the teachings of the Jedi Order. The data on a holocron can only be accessed by a Jedi. You do not have to be a master or member of the council, just a Jedi. And some had an additional security measure which required a kyber crystal after the holocron was open. Think of these sort of like a password-protected flash drive, if you will. There's information on this device. We can't get to it without proper access. First, you got to be a Jedi, and in some cases, you need a kyber crystal, sort of like that password. Jedi holocrons are cubes, and we'll see those in this episode coming up. And by the way, there are also Sith holocrons. They will not factor in for a long time in our story, but they are pyramids. Interesting. But there are Sith holocrons. We'll see those later in our journey. So, Sidious wants a holocron, which contains a list of Force-sensitive children. Why does he want that? We'll find out later. The Jedi kept a list of children to keep an eye on who are Force-sensitive for future recruiting. Now, for obvious reasons, this list was kept extremely secret. If the bad guys know the identity of future Jedi, it can spell disaster for the Jedi Order, right? If the bad guys know who the future good guys are, they go to kill the kids who can't defend themselves and whose parents probably are not Force sensitive or not Jedi trained, certainly. And it's real easy to take care of the kids. And then, it's the long play game, right? 50 years from now, there are no Jedi. Notice here that Cad Bane refers to Sidious as, quote, a Sith Lord client, end quote. Keep in mind, the Jedi don't know that there is a Sith Lord that even exists. Think about movie 2. They don't know there's a Sith Lord. They don't know there's a Sith Lord for a few years yet. It has to be Revenge of the Sith when Anakin finally figures it out. But Bane already knows and is unfazed by the evil. He just kind of refers to it as, oh yeah, we have a Sith Lord client. And his band go, oh, okay, that's fine. If you didn't catch us 2 episodes ago and you're wondering who Cad Bane is and what his backstory is, go back 2 episodes. We talked a lot about Cad Bane, and you can hear it there. Bane has already, in this episode, killed a Jedi so that his changeling partner can impersonate him to help him gain access to the temple. A changeling is a species, and we see them in the movies. They are in episode 2. There is a changeling that is after Padme. A changeling can impersonate anyone just by touching them. They can change their own physical form into whatever other body being that they touch. And so this changeling turns themselves into this Jedi. And we're off. It's a heist movie now. Bane is breaking in with his team. The Jedi sense that there's an intruder. The chase is on. Not everything goes perfectly in this heist, but Bane does manage to gain access to the vault, find the holocron he's looking for. The droid is destroyed, the changeling is arrested, but Bane does escape with the holocron. End of episode, to be continued. But at this point, Bane, success. He wasted a friend and a droid along the way, but he was successful. Episode number 2 Cargo of Doom. Now, time elapses between these two episodes. In between these two episodes, Bane has now kidnapped Master Rapal or Ropal, depending on which episode. In the first episode, they call him Ropa, and in this episode, they call him Ropal. So I don't know how you pronounce his name, but we'll just say Rapal. In an effort to get him to open the holocron and retrieve the data. So this holocron needs to be opened by a Jedi, which Master Rapal is, and he also has the password Kyber Crystal, which will gain access to the list. So they need Master Rapal. Here we go. It's another heist episode, but this time it's Anakin attempting to rescue Master Rapal from the clutches of Bane. Rapal refuses to open the holocron and it costs him his life. Very cool battle here with Bane, Ahsoka, and Anakin, plus some droids and clones. This is an excellent example, as we've discussed 2 weeks ago, of how effective Bane is against the Jedi. He has a well thought out plan. He executes it very well. He has his droids planned and in check. He turns off the gravity generators to even the playing field with him, and he knows he's out talented by the Jedi. He has to be a little tricky, so he turns off the gravity. Now they're all floating around, but he was magneted to the floor. That kind of evens the score. He's not floating around, he's grounded. Ultimately, Bane separates Ahsoka from the rest of the crew and uses her as bait to convince Anakin to open the holocron, which he does. This was all planned out. Bane wanted to separate someone so that he could play into Anakin opening the holocron, which he does. Now, why can't he have Ahsoka open the holocron? Because Ahsoka is not a full Jedi. She is a Padawan. You have to be a Jedi. So Anakin can open it. By the way, anyone else notice that between the first episode and the second episode, Ahsoka got real clothes? Like last episode, she had on the tube top and the mini skirt, and now granted, it's a skin-tight bodysuit, but it is an upgrade. At least they've covered all of her body parts with fabric. Anybody else notice that? I don't know. Maybe it was just me. So anyway, Anakin opens the holocron. Bane adds the crystal that he stole from Master Rapal, and now he has access to the list of Force-sensitive children. As the ship is falling apart, the crew attempts to escape, and it appears that Bane is blown up with the ship. It's another great example of getting sucked into the story. We all know that Bane does not die here. We see him later in Star Wars, and yet being wrapped up in the story allows us to forget that fact. This is how we know how good these stories are. They suck us in, and it doesn't matter that we know that Anakin becomes Vader. It doesn't know. I guess these are all spoiler alerts, right? No, this is decades old story. This is how we know they're good. We get wrapped up and we sort of forget that we know the end. We also experience a bit of Ahsoka's growth here. Not just in her wardrobe, although that was a pleasant change. We discussed last time, 2 episodes ago, that Ahsoka is young and eager, but has many shortcomings because of her young and eagerness. Yet here, as they try to escape the ship, Anakin wants to be hasty and go after Bane no matter what, willing to risk his life and the life of his crew to get Bane. Ahsoka stands firm and reminds him, in fact, yells at him to be patient. And Anakin acquiesces. He admits she's right. Very cool moment. This is real growth moment for Ahsoka. She is maturing before our eyes. And also, hey, look, character development. Something that is often missing from a Star Wars movie. And this is great because Ahsoka still has a lot to learn. She does make mistakes in this episode by going after Bane on her own, for instance. But also, she is maturing enough to stand up to Anakin once in a while and tell him we should wait. Be patient. End of episode. Episode 3, Children of the Force. These 2 episodes virtually back to back. We ended the last episode with them escaping from the ship, and now he opened back on the Jedi cruiser. with the clones licking their wounds from the battle, discussing how many people we lost, and one of them has green blood. But clones don't have green blood. Bane does live. He disguised himself as a clone in order to be taken off of the sinking ship. So we assume he killed the clone back on the other ship, donned the armor, and snuck aboard the escape crew. Brilliant, right? Bane is the man. He beats Ahsoka, steals a ship, and makes a final escape. With the list intact, Bane wins this round, but it's only the beginning of the episode, so stay tight. Bane reports to Sidious, and now Sidious has him doing the next phase, which is kidnapping children, which, again, barely phases Bane at all. Ruthless and pure evil. He says, as long as I get paid, I don't care. That's not a quote. I don't remember what the exact quote was, but basically he doesn't care what crimes he commits as long as he gets paid. And Sidious is more than happy to pay him. And Sidious tells him to take the children to Mustafar, to a facility that will look very familiar to us. This is the planet where Obi-Wan and Anakin have their final battle, and where eventually Vader builds his personal temple that we see later in the story, among other places in Obi-Wan, the series. Back on Coruscant, the Jedi are now meditating in order to ascertain the location of the children that will be taken. Interesting, in this arc, that the Jedi's ability to meditate and use the Force seems very strong in the Jedi Temple. In episode 1 of this story, they knew that there was going to be intruders, then they knew the intruders were there, then they knew where they were. Lots of very specific things. Here, they are finding where the children are, and they manage to know what planets or what cities that they are from, even. We've discussed before that the Jedi's use of the Force on Coruscant is clouded by the presence of Sidious and of the Sith Temple that lies under the Jedi Temple. If you're wondering what's going on, you got to listen to old episodes, people. I'm sorry, there's a lot. You got to keep up. There is a Sith Temple, ancient ruins of a Sith Temple underneath the Jedi Temple on Coruscant. The Jedi Temple was built on the Sith Temple to squelch the dark side and control it. But sometimes the dark side clouds the Jedi. That was our theory. This was our excuse for them not sensing Sidious on the planet this whole time. During this whole thing, there's a Sith Lord right there. Why don't you sense it? Well, the reason is because we think the dark side is clouding the light. Here, there is no evidence of that. I have no explanation. I'm sorry. It is what it is. During this meditation scene, several planets are mentioned. Naboo, we got that one. Interestingly, one of them is Gleon Som. And if that sounds familiar to you, it should. This episode of Clone Wars is from 2009, but Gleon Som is also mentioned in Solo, a Star Wars Story by Tobias Beckett, the Woody Harrelson character, Tobias Beckett. It's the planet he mentions he'd like to retire on because of its idyllic ocean scenery. It's an ocean planet. This is also the home planet of the Nautolan people. Most notable of those for our story is Jedi Master Kit Fisto. He's the one with the dreamy eyes. Yeah, that's Kit Fisto. So we have the planet targets. The Jedi are splitting up in the hopes of finding Bane before he finds the children. One has already been taken, 2 more are on the way, and a 3rd one waits. Again, we're heisting, we're stealing children. So while we run the heist versus heist breaker scenario, we also get an interesting peek into the Force-sensitive children issue. It has been a long-standing accusation by many that the Jedi, quote, steal children, end quote, and force them into becoming Jedi. That view of the story is in no narrative that I am aware of. I've read a lot of the books, I've seen every piece of visual media, and I have never seen anyone stealing children from the Jedi perspective. In fact, From the novels to Acolyte to Tales of the Jedi and others, we do always seem to see that the parents are involved in the decision and willingly give their children to be trained. Is it sad? Yes. If you've ever had a child grow up and leave the house, which honestly I haven't, but he is thinking about college, so we're getting there. It's sad when your child moves on. It's sad when your child leaves. When your child is 2 and a toddler, giving them to the Jedi Order, while even done willingly, can be a sad moment. Once they join the Jedi, they can no longer be in contact with their parents. It has also been shown that most Jedi don't remember their parents at all. Anakin, of course, is the exception to that. And here we see Bane telling the mother that Jedi imposters are roaming the galaxy, stealing children. Is it possible that the rumor of stealing children is actually true, and that the reason behind the Jedi steal children plot is that there are fake Jedi out there stealing children? Or is this Bane just using that made-up story to scare the mother and give himself a reason for this kidnapping? Again, we're never going to find out. It never tells us, at least not yet. Maybe there's a story out there in the future that we just don't know. Obi-Wan misses Bane, but Anakin and Ahsoka do not. They catch him in the next. And oh look, Ahsoka's tube top is back. Nobody else in this story ever changes clothes except Ahsoka. Bane is now a prisoner and being questioned to find out where the children are. 3 Jedi combined to use the Jedi mind trick in combination to make Bane talk. Now, it's widely known that the Jedi mind trick can only be used on the weak-minded. Bane is certainly not weak-minded. He is strong-minded. So one Jedi is not going to work. But maybe, they decide, if we combine forces, we can make him talk. But this could also destroy his mind if we go too far. Remember, it's just a kids' show, folks. The 3 are not strong enough, but Bane does give in, not wanting to endure more, let's call it torture, I guess. There is no Geneva Convention in the galaxy far, far away, but this is definitely a war crime, right? Like bending someone's mind in the will of the Force with 3-on-1, trying to make him talk. That has to be considered torture. Obi-Wan and Mace take Bane, Anakin and Ahsoka stay behind. Meanwhile, Sidious, does he say an army of Force-talented spies in his service? Yes? Yes, he does. That are trained in the dark side. Holy crap. So, what he wants to do is take these Force-sensitive children, turn them into Force-talented slaves to do his bidding. Thoughts here. Was this plan A before turning Anakin into Vader became plan A? Or did he have a why not both idea? Well, I can have Vader and the slaves. We don't really ever find out that answer explicitly. Was this plan A and then later the Inquisitors became plan B version of this? We don't really know that either. For more on the Inquisitors, again, stick around for about 100 more episodes. We'll get there eventually. They start showing up in Rebels and Obi-Wan. My opinion on this issue, I think this was a why not both type of plan all along. Rewind a little bit in this episode. Immediately before this scene, Palpatine asks Anakin if he knows who might be the person more powerful than Dooku, and Anakin says that he does not know. And Palpatine immediately pats him on the back and says, "Have patience, my boy." As if to say, don't worry, you don't know now, but you'll be the first to know. Which, of course, we know from Episode 3, Revenge of the Sith, Anakin is the first to know. And right after he says, "Have patience, my boy," boom, we're on Mustafar with Hollow Sidious discussing this plan. Now, I think the plan all along was to turn Anakin to the dark side and have the army of Force-sensitive slaves. When this plan doesn't play out in this episode, ultimately they begin using the Inquisitors, which are fallen Jedi, instead of raising them as children from toddlers. But we are getting a little ahead of ourselves. By the way, that's a theory of mine. I don't know that there's anything to back that up other than this episode arc at the beginning of season 2 of Clone Wars. Regardless, this plan is absolutely terrifying. In my opinion, this is one of the most evil, terrible, horrifying things that Sidious ever says. He wants to turn children into Force-sensitive slaves. Not only that, but he doesn't care if the children die in the process. The droid is like, well, this could go badly, and Sidious' response is, I will have lost nothing. Yep, just a kid's show, folks, as he gestures with air quotes. Meanwhile, Obi-Wan and Mace walk into Bane's trap, but they do manage to escape, ultimately with the holocron. Anakin and Ahsoka have figured out the children are on Mustafar, and they're on their way to rescue the children. Obviously, they save the children, and the list, and the holocron, and we live happily ever after. This is peak early Clone Wars storytelling. This is a hint of how great this series is going to become. We have a Bane heist, we have Jedi lore, we have Palpatine and Sidious in their most Palpatineousness and Sidiousness. Did you ever notice that Sidious is awfully close to the word insidious? Star Wars, not known for its subtlety, huh? Not by accident, I assume. Anyway, Ahsoka, we have her growing up, Anakin doing Anakin things, Mace and Obi-Wan. Great storytelling, compelling plot, great action, all great stuff. If Star Wars is pizza, this is Giordano's. What? Come on, I'm a Chicago-style kind of guy. Always have been. Next time, we'll do episodes 5, 6, and 7 as a 4-part arc on Geonosis. You've seen Geonosis before. We'll talk about it next week, and I hope you like zombies. That's right, I said zombies. I love Star Wars. I love Clone Wars. Go watch some Clone Wars. All right, welcome to Something Neat with Matt. Matt, happy birthday. How are we doing today?
Thanks. I'm all right. Enjoying the nice cold weather and snow that's been around for 3.5 weeks.
Yeah, I don't remember the last time I saw grass.
No. Is there still grass on it?
I honestly
can't confirm.
Have no idea.
I'd believe crop circles before grass at this point.
Yes, indeed. Well, we are tasting more bourbon today. Surprising. Shocker.
Yeah, good.
We are in our bourbon bracket at the 2 versus 7 matchup. This is Knob Creek 9-year versus Evan Williams single barrel. And I don't believe I've ever tried either of these bourbons before. So these are two newbies for me. I don't remember which one's which. Is this the Knob Creek? Was the one on the left?
You're the one that grabbed them. The one on the left was the Knob Creek, yes.
Okay. And that what we're going to try first?
Yeah, sure. I mean, choose your choice at this point. It's your basement.
So let's see. Knob Creek, it's $35 to $50 range per bottle. 100 proof. These two both, same kind of mash bill. 75% corn here, 13% rye, and 12% malted barley. What else you got on the Knob Creek? I like the smell.
It's definitely a little bit, it's warmer. Warmer as in like more of a vanilla butterscotch.
I get some butterscotch.
Not as butterscotchy as double oaked, but
That's pretty clean.
it's rich. Doesn't feel 100 proof.
I agree.
Maybe a little bit on the back end, but on the front end it's not.
Right, there's just a little twinge on the back.
I feel a little warmth in the chest. It feels good.
I like that. I like when you kind of feel it go sploosh. Good stuff, good stuff. A lot of questions last week about when we're going to do the reveal of the answers. We're not doing that today. We're just discussing these two bourbons. March 16th is our episode that will have the results of all of these. So plenty of people, a couple folks this week told me that they had trouble finding Buffalo Trace. And I said, hey, that factors in. Wild turkey is easier to find. It's more
It is.
available. What about the availability of these two? They're about the same price range. Evan Williams is going to be a little cheaper, but not a lot.
Availability, the Evan Williams definitely is going to be way more available, especially not even just in stores to buy a bottle of it, more so in restaurants and bars that you go to. I would say the Knob Creek 9-year would be more available probably in your mid-range to higher range restaurants. I mean, like,
The ones that are more likely to have a bourbon list.
yeah. I mean, sometimes you go to a restaurant and they're like, here's our bourbon list, and it's Jack Daniels and something apple flavored.
Right. Crown Royal.
Yeah, you're probably not getting
Peach.
Knob Creek 9-year there. But I mean, you can go to Beer Barrel or someplace like that. I'm sure they have Knob Creek 9-year.
A couple of weeks ago, we were in Columbus for music convention. We went to a place right across the street, Jeff Ruby Steakhouse. Great burger, great fries, and had an old fashioned there that was knockdown, drag out. It was great. It was very nice. They had a little bit of extra orange infusion into it, so it had a little more citrusy sweetness to it. And she asked what bourbon I wanted it made with, and we sat at the bar because tables were full. So I was talking to the bartender, and I said, "Shooter's choice, whatever you suggest." So she didn't tell me, and I didn't look. She made it, and about halfway through, I said, "What did you make this with?" She said, "Woodford Double Oak." I was like, "Marry me."
So, interesting tidbit to that is I have also been to that same restaurant, and I've also had that same old fashioned with double oaked.
Really good.
Perfect. Did you have dessert?
We did not. I was after the fries and the burger, I was stuffed.
They have a really, really good, I don't remember the exact name of it. They have a butter pie. There's honestly probably some bourbons that taste like that butter pie. It's just perfect. You think when you're ordering it, you're like, yeah, okay, this is going to be disgusting.
Yeah.
No, it's the best pie I've ever had.
I'm going on to the Evan Williams
Already? So soon?
already. I like that Knob Creek though. That was tasty. That was good. Evan Williams, $25 to $40 a bottle, 86.6 proof. So much, 14 essentially, 13, 14 less on the proof. The recipe, 78% corn, so a little bit higher corn, 12% rye, that's 1% lower on the rye, and 10% of the barley, that's 2% less on the barley. Higher the corn, right, the sweeter taste you would expect overall.
Right. Yes.
High rye is going to be spicier.
Yes.
Yeah.
And, there's, over the weekend, I tasted, they're called turtle chips.
Okay.
They were called like corn chips, but it was actually sweet corn. And so when you took a bite of them, it tasted like corn casserole, which is to me a little bit weird for a chip.
Yeah, it's a little bit weird.
But while I was eating it, I thought, this is exactly what people should be thinking about when there's a higher percentage of corn in a bourbon. That corn was very sweet. And so,
Like a corn chip versus a potato chip.
yes,
Yeah,
exactly.
that's great. And neither of these have wheat in the mash bill, but wheat is pretty common.
Yeah,
Wheated bourbon.
yeah.
Right. I don't get nearly as much smell here.
I get a little bit of citrus on the nose.
Definitely get some more citrus in the taste.
Yeah, maybe some apple.
Yeah, definitely fruity or flowery.
Yeah, that's good.
These are very different tasting bourbons.
They are.
Last week, I think we had two that very similar. Okay, so explain to me, maybe you can't, but my question is, the recipes are virtually identical. 75 to 85% corn, 13 to 12 rye, 12 to 10 barley. Why do they taste so different?
Well, a lot of it has to do with this is where the aging process comes into play. You will go to where they store the whiskey barrels are in rick houses, and there are different floors and different levels on rick houses, and there are even some distilleries that they have automated windows that test for specific levels of humidity on each floor and then they calculate where the wind is coming from to know which windows to close on which floor so that you can have specific levels of humidity. And that's the part of the process that gets so minute that you can have a barrel from the same batch on the 6th floor of a rick house and a barrel of the same batch on the 1st floor. And maybe to the casual taster, is it going to necessarily notice a difference? But there's enough difference that sometimes they'll even put on the label, this is the 6th floor.
Right.
So that the more experienced you get, the more you can say, okay, well, I like 6th floor. I like 6th floor bourbon from this particular rick house.
Some distillers will rotate them from floors to floors every so often. Is that right?
Yes.
Heaven Hill people said that.
Yes.
I think. And one of the things that happens regularly in order to control this with the windows and the floors and the rotations and the expansion of cold to hot, etc., is these bourbons are regularly tasted throughout the aging process.
Yes.
The master distiller, and there's usually an entire team of tasters who will regularly just take a sip to make sure it tastes the way it should taste at this point in the process, and then adjust floors or whatever to make it taste the way they want their brand to taste.
The Bourbon Pursuit podcast recently had an episode of, I can't remember who it was, 2 master distillers that are certified. And they talk about the process of how you become a certified taster and master distiller. And it's a pretty interesting process. I didn't listen to all of it, but it's pretty in depth. This isn't just some guy that sits down and tastes bourbon and says, yeah, put that label on it.
No, these are experts. These are the people like you think in the marching arts. These are the top flight DCI adjudicators who can tell the difference between what a 9.9 and a 9.8 is. Or now it's the Olympic season. We can tell the difference between this skater and what is, he slightly missed the quad loop thing. Me, I'm watching that and I go, man spin fast, man fall. I think, well, that person fell, they should not win. Just moments ago, literally before we sat down to record this, spoiler alert, the U.S. skating team won team gold when their final man fell. The Japanese did not, basically had a perfect run, but on an easier routine, so the USA guy got it, which I don't know. That's interesting to me. But yeah, these distillers are absolute professionals. They know exactly how their palate reacts and all of that. I remember hearing one of those podcasts on the Bourbon Pursuit where the master taster said, if one of our tasters comes in and has a cold, we send them home. Because with a stuffy nose, so much of it is smell. If you have a stuffy nose, go home. You're not tasting today. That sort of thing. So
what's interesting about being a master distiller is I'll bet that's the one job in the world that you can say anything about it and everybody's going to say, yeah, you're right.
Right. Yeah, probably right.
It's not like, forecasting weather where everybody comments that you're wrong. You don't know what you're talking about. I don't think I've ever been to a Woodford's Facebook page and they said, well, we really think that he got it wrong on this bottle.
Yeah, this has a hint of grass taste. Oh, yes, I taste the grass.
Yeah, exactly. Maybe a little dew.
Yeah. The other thing here today is this week, the end of this week, is Happy Valentine's Day. It's Valentine's Day in our world. Thought maybe we would talk about our worst dates ever. Do you have a worst date that you went on? Maybe mine's a first date, sort of.
I don't know that I have a worst date. I've probably had a worst attempt at getting a first date.
Well, tell us about it.
This was when I was on tour a while back. It's been a while ago, and we were in Charlotte, and I got into Charlotte earlier than everybody else, and decided I was going to go to dinner, which normally I would go to dinner by myself anyways because I'm a loner. But I went down the street to the Mellow Mushroom and had my own little table outside on the little patio. And the waitress came over, took my drink order, and Now, I'm not saying that I'm, a master distiller of the dating world. and picking up signs and saying, yes, there's a hint of this, so that it's perfect.
Can confirm Matt is not a master distiller of the dating world.
So she was dropping what I would consider lots of signs that, perhaps maybe,
Right.
So I order my meal, and then at one point, like, she comes over and sits down at the table and just talks. And at that point, I'm thinking, okay, I mean, this is it. So, like they always do in the movies, on the receipt, I left my number. I thought, you know what? This is the first time and the only time I'd ever done that.
Swing for the fences.
I thought, you know what? Let's just take the shot. So I go back to the hotel, and then a little bit later, a couple more guys show up, and they ask, "Do you want to go to dinner?" I said, "Yeah, I've already had dinner, but I'd love to go hang out." And they said, "Well, there's a pizza place down the street that we'd like to go to. It's the Mellow Mushroom." And in my mind, I'm thinking,
let's go.
Yeah, I'm in. So we go and we get seated, and our waitress comes up. Same exact waitress. Never been more excited in my life. She never even looks at me. Wants nothing to do with me. I even tried saying hi. Nothing. Not a darn thing.
She was just cruising for the tip. Or did you leave a crappy tip?
I don't remember.
Oh man.
I mean, it wasn't a crappy tip. I remember leaving a tip.
Okay.
But I mean,
she was playing you for the tip.
I mean, either that or she thought my phone number was my tip, and
that's a pretty
that would explain the bankruptcy.
That would explain the bankruptcy. Well, my worst date ever was from college. I knew this girl. I had a crush on her. I wanted to ask her out so bad. I've never been good at that, so I didn't. But she was a vocal major. She also played flute, but she was a vocal major, and she had a vocal class that she had this assignment that she was supposed to teach a couple of vocal lessons to a non-singer in order to practice teaching somebody to sing that's not a very good singer. And so she asked me if I would participate, if I would be her non-vocalist. And I jumped at the chance to hang out with her 3 or 4 times to take these voice lessons, which we did. And at the end of it, she said, "Hey, I really appreciate you doing this. I would like to take you to dinner. Can I buy you dinner for helping me?" I'm like, man, this is golden. I'm in. So you pick the restaurant. Okay, so I picked this place. I don't remember the place. It was like, I mean, we're college kids. It wasn't super nice. It was like a Chili's or an Applebee's kind of level of place.
Nothing wrong with Applebee's.
We go, we sit. Have you seen that new mega cheese burger that they have?
No, I haven't.
I kind of want one of those. It's like literally dipped in cheese sauce. So we go and we get the menus and we order dinner. And I said, "Well, why don't you tell me a little bit about yourself? I don't really know much about you." I knew her name and so forth. And she started off with the phrase, "Well, I'm from insert location," which will be kept out of this exact conversation. "And at home, I have a boyfriend back in high school."
Oh.
And then proceeded to spend the next hour talking about how amazing her boyfriend is. But, I mean, she did buy dinner.
Well, that's good. I mean, as long as you get food.
Actually, once she said my boyfriend, I kind of blacked out, and that was kind of the end of it. I don't remember much after that. So that was my worst date ever. It didn't even end up being a date. And I have no idea. Hopefully she is married to that. Hopefully she's married to that guy, and they're living happily ever after. I have no idea. We lost contact after college, and that's the way it goes.
However, the silver lining to both of our stories is that in both of those instances, we still walked away with a full tummy.
We did. Final thoughts on the bourbon. I like both of these bourbons. I think they're both very tasty.
I like both of them. I think I would definitely keep both of them in regular rotation.
And at the price point, this is something that you can always have in your cabinet as a regular sipper. Just, not a special occasion kind of. I definitely know what I think the winner is. After we hit stop on the recording, we'll make that decision.
The one extra bit about Knob Creek, not specifically this, but they do have, and I'm not so much anymore into the flavored whiskeys and all of that kind of stuff. The Old Smoky used to be really good. Now it's just so incredibly. To me, it's like drinking straight syrup. Knob Creek, though, does have a smoked maple that I think is really, you put that on ice, it is really, really, really tasty. It's not sweet, too sweet, and you get a little bit of the oak with it. I think it's pretty good.
I love me a smoked old fashioned too. That's some good stuff right there. Well, as always, drink responsibly. If you're under 21, don't drink at all, and designated drivers do save lives. So if you're tasting along with us and you're not at home, please be careful. We'd love to have you listen to the next podcast, not from a casket. So that's all for us today. Matt, we're going to see you in a couple of weeks where we will do the 3 and 6 matchup. That is Bullet versus Four Roses Small Batch. See you then.
No, breathe. Find your happy place.
Falling in love. I don't know if you're married, but I am. And I can for sure tell you that I am glad that I don't ever have to go on dates and fall in love ever again. What, your wife and you never go on? Shut up. You know what I mean. Talking to girls, getting to know girls, convincing them to go on a date. What do you wear? What do you say? Where do you go? So much suck. And it has nothing to do with girls, whether it's a guy and a girl or who cares? Love who you love. I don't care. Falling in love is hard. Then is there a second date or not? When do I say I love you? Is it too soon? What if they say it first? Is it too soon for you to respond? No, thank you. Being in love, 10 out of 10, 5 stars, no notes. Falling in love, ugh, so much suck. But I guess, hey, happy Valentine's Day anyway, right? And if you don't have a Valentine, Star Wars can be your Valentine. Homework for the week. Tell someone you love them. Maybe it's a friend. Maybe it's a family member. Maybe it's not romantic. Tell them how much they mean to you. Tell them you're glad that they're in your life. Don't make it weird or anything. You can't wash off weird. Just, I love you, man. You make my life better. Or, something like that. Okay, that's the show. Make sure you leave a rating, drop a comment, or send a message on the app of your choice. You can text the show with the link at the bottom of the description, or check out our merch store at themarchingarts.com/RHS. We hope you'll join us next time for some Clone Wars Season 2, Episodes 5, 6, 7, and 8. DCI bracket reveal with Harrison, and Excel thinks everything is a date. Thanks for joining me today. The theme music is Superfly, written by me, copyright RHS Music. The show logo is designed by John Suh. The show producer is my sister, Kathy. I hope you'll join us next time for more reflections and rantings on symbols and cynicism.